This is my first assignment in the sports coaching module. In this assignment I'll talk about 4 coaches from 4 different sports. I'll talk about 2 elite and 2 non-elite coaches. I will then go on to talk about 4 roles and 4 responsibilities and appoint one of each to each coach, which I think they most suit. Then using 3 of my coaches I will then talk about a skill for each of them. The 4 coaches. The 4 coaches I've chosen to talk about split up into 2 elite coaches and 2 non-elite coaches. The 2 elite coaches I've chosen to talk about are Eddie Jones, England rugby head coach, and Trevor Bayliss, England cricket head coach. The 2 non-elite coaches I've chosen to talk about are Mo Hopkins, Team BTC Football Elite Manager, and Carly Martin, Team BTC Netball Elite Coach. I will describe and explain a role and responsibility that each coach utilises, and then for 3 of the coaches I will talk about a skill they have too. The definition of a coach is a person involved in the direction, instruction and training of the operations of a sports team or of individual sports people. For each coach I have allocated them each a role I think is suitable for them. Firstly, Eddie Jones. The role I've chosen for him is manager. As coach, being a manager is one of your roles. In this role you are responsible for controlling and administrating the players. In lower standard sport, a manager doesn't normally have a separate coach compared to professional levels. So normally they have to do the coach's roles by picking the side formation and delivering the tactics too. A good manager will be an innovator, role model, friend, motivator and trainer, educator, instructor, all in one. Eddie Jones suits this role as he is used to managing the England rugby team. Even though he has other members of staff working for him, he is primarily the manager of the team. Therefore, Eddie must ensure he has all of these qualities to ensure that he succeeds in his role. Secondly, Trevor Bayliss. The role I've chosen for him is role model. As a coach, it is important to be a role model to your players. As a role model, you have someone who others look at as a positive example so they can imitate it themselves. Players will look up to their coaches for inspiration and knowledge. A coach can help a player's development in many ways: social, personal, health, and psychological. Trevor Bayliss is a great example of a role model, as he used to be a very skilled and good cricketer back in his day. This means that he can use the skills he learnt when he was a player and feed them on to the current players. And the current players can look at him for aspiration to help improve their game on and off the pitch. Next, Mo Hopkins. The role I've chosen for him is innovator. As a coach, it is important to keep coming up with new ideas and tactics. And as an innovator, it means you can come up with different tactics and techniques that you can use throughout your team, either when you play against different teams or if you're going through a bad spell of form. Hopefully they can come up with different strategies. As coach, you should also help provide creativity for the team and help them inspire to perform better and encourage them. Finally, Carly Martin. The role I've chosen for her is friend. As a coach, it's vital that you're good friends with your players too. As a player, if you're good friends with your coach, then it will make you feel more comfortable to go and approach them if you have any problems, or even go and share your success with them. Being friends should also have good levels of respect between each other, but you should know the boundaries you have. And as a coach, you should know to keep all personal information exchange private. It is all about having good trust between each other. Responsibilities. For each coach, I have allocated them each a responsibility I think is suitable for them. For Eddie Jones, I have chosen professional conduct. As a coach, your conduct and behaviour determines the current and future experiences of your athletes. As a coach, your professional conduct should be of a high standard when you are both on and off the pitch. This includes match days, training days, or even your personal days off too. You should always look professional in your job and have a good knowledge and experience of what you are doing. As a coach, you should go into the job with the appropriate qualifications to ensure you are ready to start. At all times, you should respect all the ability of the players and also respect and support the officials of the game, no matter their decision. You should be an effective communicator to all of the players and your staff too, and you should reward any effort shown by any of these. Finally, you should promote honesty and fair play when it comes to match days. If as a coach you employ all of these qualities, you will make a very good one. And I feel that Eddie Jones does succeed at all of these, and this is why I think this is the best responsibility that describes him. For Trevor Bayliss, I've chosen health and safety as his responsibility. As a coach, you have a duty of care on an individual. This is a legal obligation. As a coach, you're required to adhere to a standard of reasonable care while performing any acts that could possibly harm others. All sports carry a risk of injury. As a coach, you should always have a first aid bag nearby throughout any activities carried out. There are two main types of risk factors that cause injury. Intrinsic. This is a factor that is outside of the body, for example, an uneven playing surface or a piece of glass on the pitch. And intrinsic. This is a physical aspect of the body that may cause injury. For example, overusing a muscle area in your body like tennis elbow. Health and safety is a big responsibility for Trevor Bayliss because within cricket there are a lot of objects that can hurt or injure a player. The most common one would be the cricket ball itself. This is a very harmful object also when netting and doing fielding practice. Balls can be flying everywhere. Therefore, there needs to be a big pledge on health and safety throughout these activities. Trevor Bayliss must lead this. You should also carry out risk assessments before training sessions too to make sure everything is safe and no one is going to get hurt unexpectedly. For Mo Hopkins, I have chosen knowledge of the coach environment. As a coach, your knowledge of your surroundings need to be up to date as possible. This is to ensure that you know what is safe and what isn't, where everything is kept, the nearest emergency meeting point, and many other important things. This is so that you can look after your players in the best way possible if an emergency occurs or if they need any sort of help. When indoors, you should always know where the nearest fire exits are, where the first aid bag is kept, and where toilets and showers are too for your players to use. Before any training session, you should always carry out a risk assessment on the facility you are training on, and also the equipment, to make sure it is suitable for everyone to use. Finally, for Carly Martin, I have chosen equal opportunities as a responsibility. As a coach, you must ensure all your players get an equal opportunity to take part. You should also always take into consideration their age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, sexuality, ability, and socio-economic status. None of these factors should be a barrier to any player and result in them not being able to play. So as a coach, you should involve everyone and give them an equal opportunity. On to skills. In this slide, I'm going to talk about 3 of the coaches and associate 1 skill for each of them. I will talk about Eddie Jones, Trevor Bayliss, and Mo Hopkins, but I won't talk about Carly Martin. Firstly, Eddie Jones. The skill I've chosen for him is organisation. As a coach, it's very important that you are always organised at all times. You must ensure you know how many participants are taking part and ensure that the activities are appropriate for all the participants. You will also need to be organised and making sure that prior to the event that all the equipment required is available and ready for use on the day. Another key factor is planning in advance and booking a facility for when you need it and making yourself aware of all the safety procedures that need carrying out as well. Finally, at the end of the session, it's by respect that you leave the facility and the equipment as they were found when the session started. For Trevor Bayliss, the skill I've chosen is analysing. In order for a coach to improve their team, they must watch their own team as well as other teams. Therefore, a coach must have a good ability to observe and analyse, making good tactical judgments. As coach, you must have a clear idea about how you would want your team to perform. This will allow you to clearly observe any faults that your athletes might encounter. You must also analyse personality and motivation and other psychological aspects that may affect their performances. Cricket is a good sport to analyse as you can really pick out key points and areas to focus on and improve, and this is why I think analysing is a good skill for Trevor Bayliss. Finally, the skill I've chosen for Mo Hopkins is time management. Before the coach starts their session, they must ensure that the facility is booked, the equipment is ready and the session is planned and arrangements are made for the athletes. They must also ensure that all athletes know where the session is being held and what time it is due. During the session, the coach must revisit any previous weaknesses that some of the athletes have and try and put them right and try and help all the athletes develop technically and tactically. He should allow time for a competition-based scenario as well. To allow all of this, he must make sure that the timings of the session are adequate to ensure everything is covered in a reasonable amount. Making time to give feedback to the individual and their parents is essential too, so that they can keep track of their progress and development as a player. Finally, all athletes should be aware of any future games that are booked in. Techniques. In this slide, I'm going to talk about the three same coaches again. Firstly, Eddie Jones. The first technique I'm going to use is fitness testing. This will usually take place during pre-season training. They may do fitness testing at the beginning and at the end of pre-season to see what improvements have been made over the time. As a coach, you'll want to be looking for improvements made in the individuals who have exceeded their original result at the beginning and got better on the second time around after weeks of training. A good fitness test that's easy to track progress is a 12-minute Cooper run. You can clearly see how many laps an individual has ran, meaning the next time you can compare these two results and see the improvements were made. A negative to fitness testing is it can reduce morale and confidence to an individual. Secondly, Trevor Bayliss. The technique I'm going to use is observational performance analysis. This is watching and reviewing an athlete's sporting performance, and it can be done in two ways. These two ways are indirect and direct observation. Direct observation can be performed by a coach at the sideline, and indirect observation can be done using some digital film and equipment. The positives to this technique is that it can be done in person if needed and is quick and simple, or it can be done, saved, and then looked back on various times. The negatives is that if done in person, the individual may not be able to express their skills as much as they want, and nothing will be recorded. It will be whatever the coach sees there and then, where if it is recorded, it can get looked back on. Finally, Mo Hopkins. The technique I'm going to use is goal setting. This is when a manager, coach and player will agree on a goal or goals, which they feel that the player needs to strive towards and achieve. The goal will most likely be issued to motivate the individual to improve a weakness of their own. An athlete can be set a short-term, medium or long-term goal. A short-term goal would be shoot 5 times in the next match. A medium goal would be score 3 goals in a month. A long-term goal could be to win the league. So this goal would last all year. A goal must be smart. This is specific to your sport. Measurable, so it's easy to keep track of. Achievable, this means that you can actually achieve it and it isn't impossible. Realistic, which means it is realistic to you and not a stupid goal. For example, if you're a defender, it wouldn't be to score 20 goals in the season. And time realistic, this is making sure you set the appropriate amount of time to achieve this goal. The good thing with goal setting is that it will increase motivation levels as the athlete actually has something set to work towards. The negative is that the set goal could lead to stress and anxiety, knowing that your manager/coach expects you to achieve it. The target may be unrealistic and will damage the individual confidence. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you.